Hello people, Expert here, welcome to the channel. I hope everyone's doing fantastic today. I'm on top of Exiles 2, we're on the beta. I just thought I'd share this little build I sort of accidentally stumbled into. It's an absolute little monster. I've personally been using the ice powers on this game since about level 10. A lot of people games stick, but I think ice is really underestimated on this game. But yeah, I'll show you what I've got, how I stumbled into it. Hopefully you guys can use it to help you out. It'll get you through mid-game, late game, and possibly even improve on it. If anyone improves on it, I'd love to hear back from you. Because like I said, I'm no expert on these type of games by any means. I'll never claim to be. But I figured if an amateur like me can stumble onto this, I would love to see what like. I've seen some people playing this game on YouTube that are like absolute beasts at it, and I would love to see what they could do with this. So let's get into it. What we've got is Sigil of Power. We're using this mainly for bosses. You don't really need to waste this on ads. You'll wipe out the nobody enemies. We aren't ever having to bother with this. But for bosses, they've got a massive health pool. This just comes in handy. You'll put a circle on floor. The more spells you cast within said circle, the more damage you do, basically. Support gems on this, we've got Pestilence for a longer duration, basically. Persistence, sorry. It'll last longer. Obviously, the longer it's up, the more spells you cast, the more damage you get. We've got Arcane Surge. That's just for a little bit of extra mana regen now and again. You don't need to worry about that much. We've got increased cooldown, so we can cast it more often, should we need to. And I've still got a spare skill gem on this. When I get another level 3 skill gem, I'll socket another one in here. Grim Feast. For survivability, when you kill an enemy, it'll drop a little like thing on the floor, like a little soul looking thing. You walk into it, your energy shield starts recharging. On there we've got Vitality for more health regen, again a little bit more survivability. Clarity for mana regen. Obviously we're primarily a spellcaster here, so mana regen can never hurt to have any more of it, can it? We've got Archmage, this is just for extra damage. Bit of more lightning damage per 100 maximum mana. It's an absolute monster. We've got +1 to lightning mastery skill, so basically it just makes Archmage do that little bit more damage. We've got precision on there. That needs swapping out for something else. Like I said, I'm no expert on these games. I think that was just thrown in there because I found the Divine Orb, but my inventory was literally chock-a-block, so I just threw that across into there so I could pick up the Divine Orb. This is where the main mechanic's got to trigger. This is the main thing that we're bothered about. This right here. These 3 particular skills. This is the main mechanic that's going to kick off all the damage. We've got Fireball. Now, we don't need to worry about the damage of Fireball, because we're not actually doing damage with this. The main thing we're going to be dealing damage with is down here. This is what triggers it. Basically, what you'll do is you'll cast Fireball. Fireball is then going to summon Raging Spirits. When the Raging Spirits die, because they count as minions, that is going to charge up cast on minion death. How that works is, every time a minion dies, you get so much energy put onto this. When this gets up to 100%, it will cast the skill assigned onto it. So you cast Fireball, summons the Raging Spirits die, which will summon Comets. This is where this big damage comes from, is this skill right here, the Comet skill. Now on his Fireball, we've got Scatter Shot, so instead of firing 1 Fireball, you fire 3 out at a time, which is less damage on the Fire skill, but we don't care, because again, that's not what we're using for damage, it's just to trigger Raging Spirits. This triggers more of them. We've got Unleash, again for the same reason. It charges up 2 stages. When you fire it, it will cast the skill 3 times in a row. More Raging Spirits, basically. More skills for your minions. Death to trigger more meteorites. Then we've got Mobility. Because Fireball can take a little while to cast. And obviously, while you're casting a skill, you sort of slow down a bit. This just basically lets us be more mobile while we're casting the Fireball skill. And then on Raging Spirits, Infernal Legion, this is very important because we want them to die. This is important. We need these guys to die to trigger his main skill. So what we do is, you use Raging Spirit with Infernal Legion, and then for every second these guys are alive, they will take 20% of the maximum life as fire damage. So it's going to kill them faster. More importantly, this is going to ignite enemies. This is the main thing that we're bothered about here, how this mechanic interacts with it and how it works. It will ignite enemies. You'll find out why that's important shortly. Minions do more damage, we're not bothered about. What we do want on this skill, Gem Freeding Frenzy, is the fact that minions take 20% more damage, which means they die faster. Minion instability, when they get to 15% life, they just insta-die. They die 15% faster. That's what we want. Your main damage dealing skill is Comet. Now on Comet, we've got Spell Cascade, so it'll cast 3 Comets instead of 1. I know it says it does a bit less damage, but trust me, you're not going to need to worry about that because there's going to be that many Comets raining down. It's not going to make a difference. Supported skills gain more energy because, again, cast on minion death, it builds up energy. When it gets full, it casts it, so you get it 40% faster. We've got energy retention. This is a great skill for this build because what you do is basically whenever you cast the skill to trigger, you've got a 35% chance that it will only use half the energy. So basically you're getting it back half as fast. You know, it's coming back twice as fast. It's constantly recharging. And when this procs properly, you can always tell when this skill procs because sometimes you might cast 6 or 7 meteorites. That's when this hasn't procced. When this particular support gem procs and you save that energy, sometimes it'll trigger 2 or 3 times in a row, and rather than getting 6, 7, I've known it, I think the most I've got out of this to trigger at any one time was like 16 meteorites, one after the other. It like comets, it would just boom, 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 it just chain reaction across the screen, and it just wiped everything. So you definitely want to get these two in particular. And then for his backup skills, Frost Wall, this like your Sigil of Power is a bossing skill. It's also useful on the map to like control enemies, crowd control, freeze them in place, put up a wall because for your flaming spirit things to pop out of your raging spirits, your little skulls, you need your fireball to explode. So if it goes straight through an enemy and it doesn't hit anything solid, it won't explode, you won't get the damage. So on maps where it's really tight quarters, it don't matter. You'll trigger it anyway. On some of the maps where you've got like big open fields, sometimes your fireball won't trigger because there's nothing for it to collide with. That's where Frost Wall comes in. You put up your Frost Wall first, shoot your fireball at the wall. Not only will that get your spirits to come out and then die, thus bringing down Comet. When Ice Wall explodes, your little Frost Wall, when it blows up, it's got a decent area of effect damage, and it does quite a bit of damage. It's also good for bosses for that same reason. Spam 5 or 6 of these underneath a boss, then hit it, and then after the comets have finished pounding the crap out of the boss and just absolutely obliterating the poor twat, you'll also get all the damage that comes from the exploding Frost Walls as well. On here, we've got less cost, so we can spam it if we need to. We've got Spell Echo, so it'll cast it multiple times again when we're spamming it, rather than just casting Frost Wall, it'll go 1, 2, 1, 2. So when you're spamming it against enemies, you can do quite a bit of damage towards the boss using it like that. And then we've got more cold exposure on critical hits. This spell actually crits quite a lot. So that means you're making them that much more weaker to ice damage. You've got to freeze them more often, keeping it in place so you can pound the crap out of the boss without it really being able to fight back. Hypothermia, again, is also for bosses. We don't need this for nobody enemies, but for bosses or the elite enemies, sometimes like you get the stipulations on them. Some of the prefixes might be that it's resistant to frost. So you cast Hypothermia on it, you then make it weak to frost. On here we've got Burning Inscription, it's just for a little bit of extra damage. We've got Hex Bloom for the same reason. When it expires, it'll explode, causing chaos damage. It's just a little bit of extra damage. And then we've got Focus Curse. It basically triggers 30% faster. So for them faster enemies, sometimes they'll dodge out of where your cursors. It triggers that little bit faster. It's that much easier just to hit your target that you're aiming at, basically. Frost Bomb, nice bit of damage. It's got a decent area effect on it. It freezes enemies with exposure. This is handy for when, like, if there's just one enemy on his own, or a couple of weaker enemies, rather than using a lot of mana to do your big comet rain on them, you might want to save that for when you actually bump into something worth using it on. You can just hit it with Frost Wall, throw down one of these, it's dead. Cold Snap's there for the exact same reason. It does the same thing. If you freeze an enemy, hit it with Cold Snap, it's probably dead. It's little single targets. It's a nice little bit of thing without having to waste your mana doing your big major attack. On Frost Bomb, we've got bigger area effect. On your magnified effect, 40% bigger. Easier to hit your target. More frost build up, which is good, more likely to freeze them. Again, this has got decent frost build up anyway, like your ice build up to freeze an enemy. This just makes it that much better because it does it 50% faster. And then your exposure, your chill effect that you inflict on them, 30% increased magnitude of that, which is beautiful because again, Frost Bomb already does so much cold exposure, it's just bonus damage for you. On cold penetration, so that they're 30% weaker to this attack. It's a nice skill, it makes sense. Make it so we can cast it faster. And then we've got +1 to cold skills, obviously it's a cold skill. And that's pretty much it. That is basically the build. For like I said, for the most part, these are all automatic, so you don't need to worry about casting these. Decompose, that's a skill that's on my boots. You don't actually need this for this build to work. It's just a little bit of extra damage when you walk over a dead body. It pops into a cloud of poison. It's not a massive damage increase on this build because we don't primarily use poison damage. We mainly have frost damage. But it's just that extra little bit of free damage. It comes in handy. It's not necessary, but it's there if you need it. But for the most part, it is literally just these three. You'll cast that, that'll summon them, that'll trigger that. It's that simple. Now, this will work without any uniques whatsoever, this build. But it's not at its best like that. To get it working at its best, you need two things in particular. The first one of them is this amulet. Particularly, here we go, Fireflower Solar Amulet. This one, we don't care about any of the other stats. The important thing here is, remember what I said earlier, the supporter gem that makes it so your Raging Spirits ignite enemies. This is why it's important. Because of this necklace here, what it does is, whenever you ignite an enemy, you take 100 points of fire damage. As in, you. Normally that'd be a bad thing because we don't want to set ourselves on fire. But when you pair that with this skill here, I'll show you where it is on tree. You start down here with magic users, it's basically just straight up and then off to the left a little bit. All the bonuses that are on your amulet, instead of affecting you, it now affects your minions. Raging Spirits count as minions. You can normally only have 10 Raging Spirits at any one time. Each time you cast a fire skill, it'll summon 5, then 10. When you get to 15, the first 5 disappear. However, because of the amulet and the Infernal Legion support gem working in tandem, your skulls die that fast, they don't have chance to disappear. If you get it right and you hit an enemy that's frozen in closer quarters, before they have chance to despawn, you are basically killing 15 minions rapidly. Which is what causes the comets to rain down in stupid numbers and just obliterate the map. So we'll get into it. I'm on a map now, so we'll just have a little nosy around this map for a little bit, 10-20 seconds or so. Just find some enemies and I'll show you how the basic mechanics work. Now at the bottom of my screen, you'll see just above the empty block, you've got the little green thing with 0%. That's your minion death thing. Each time a minion dies, that will build up. When it's 100%, your comets are coming down. So what we'll do is, we'll find an enemy. There you go, summon your Frost Wall. There come your comets. And it literally is as simple as that. Frost wall, freeze enemies. Hit the frost wall, freeze enemies.
Die, forgotten.
And that is literally it. That is the overall mechanics of it. It's stupidly simple. Frost wall, fireball, comets. But like I said, I am by no means an expert on these games. I stumbled across this crap purely by accident. So yeah, let me know what you think. You know, like leave a comment, come back, leave a comment after you've tried it out. If there's anyone out there that's actually naturally good at these games, unlike myself, I would love to hear back from you, because I would, like I said, I would absolutely love to see some dude who's like proper shit hot at these games take this build. And if an amateur like me can pull this off, I would love to see what some of these players... I've seen so many players on YouTube that are like, they're just absolute beasts at this game. And I would love to see what they could do with a build like this, because I bet they could take it to a whole other level. Like, it would be fantastic to see. Well, thanks for watching, people. Leave a like, comment, all that good stuff if that's what you feel like doing. If not, I appreciate you stopping by anyway. And until the next one, look after yourselves, have a great day. See you later, people.